First things first. Good evening. My name's Danny. I'm an addict and an alcoholic. I want to say addict and alcoholic because I drank a lot of rum and coke with a lime twist. I did a lot of different drugs, and it wasn't really. We all have our drug of choice, our drink of choice, but whether I drank or used, I did it for the same reason because I didn't like the way I felt. So anyway, I would like to, it's an honor to speak at Fred Brown's Recovery House. Most of you out here just know you live in Fred Brown's Recovery House. It's an honor to say that Fred Brown was a friend, okay? I knew Fred Brown personally. I remember I got my clean date's March 10, 1988, okay? That was 35 years ago, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit about how it was, a little bit about a lot of different things I tried to do because I got tired of using and drinking for a lot of years before I was able to stop, okay? And I tried a lot of different ways to get clean or get sober, whatever you want to talk, because it don't matter to me. I go to Alcoholics Anonymous and I go to Narcotics Anonymous. It just depends on where I'm at. When I'm down in Palm Desert, there's a great AA meeting. When me and Stuart, we go to Vegas, there's a great AA meeting. Now I found some good NA meetings there. And I can only share my story on, what works for me and what didn't work for me. So anyway, I come from, like a lot of us, probably a very dysfunctional family. My father was a alcoholic. My mother was a smart woman. Okay, my mother was a Jew from Vienna, Austria. My father was a Mexican from San Pedro. My father was a merchant marine seaman. My mom's from Vienna, Austria. Hitler was killing all the Jews way back when, and my father was on a ship. He was a merchant marine. A ship got captured in Shanghai. My mother's family went to Shanghai to get away from Hitler killing the Jews, and that's where my mother and father met. Okay, and then later on I came along, a problem, and so when I grew up as a kid, it wasn't no surprise to me what alcohol did, because I woke up many times in the middle of the night hearing fighting going on, seeing my mother spit on my father, seeing my father whack my mother. Next thing, the police are coming to the house. So that was like a normal thing that occurred maybe every 6 weeks, And then next thing I know, I'd walk out of the house and all his clothes would be on the driveway. She'd throw them out, So I grew up in a little bit of fear and shame because all the other kids in the neighborhoods came from, seemed like they had happy families and they always knew something was going on in my house. So, through inventories and stuff, I realized, that was kind of a problem when I grew up, and I started using at a young age. My first drug of choice was glue. I was a glue sniffer. It don't seem like it was that long ago. They had two types of glue back then. One was called Revels and one was called Testers. And my glue of choice was Revels. Yeah. I would go in the laundromat and I would steal a sock hanging up on the thing, and I would get the sock. I'd go in the drugstore and steal the glue, and I would go in the back of the mall there where the drugstore was, where the trash cans are, and I'd sit there with a buddy of mine and I'd hit the rack, and I'd get high. And I was like 12 years old, okay? I remember coming home one night and my mother gives me a kiss and said, "Geez, how come you smell like glue?" I go, "Well, I've been building model airplanes." So anyway, she believed me for a while, then realized I had a problem, okay? And I got into alcohol when I was really young, okay? And When I was 17, going to San Pedro High, I started experimenting with reds and whites and cross tops and acid, and that was during the Haight-Ashbury era, and drinking and taking the gas caps off of Volkswagens and stiffing the gas tanks, and just doing anything to get outside of myself. And when I was 18 is when I took my first fix of heroin. You know, even though I heard all those bad things about what it can do to you, the only thing my mind thought was, wow, that must really feel good, you know? So I started using when I was young, 17, 18 years old, right in high school. A friend of mine's older brother was a hype, and, we hung out with them and we started using heroin. And, back then, and like for all of us, the drugs worked for a little while, but they did, it wasn't too long that I really realized that, you know, I remember asking a friend of mine, how do you know when you're hooked? These guys would always get sick, from using. And I remember the guy said, when you know you're hooked, he goes, when you have a day, if you don't have the drugs inside of you, your day isn't complete. There's something missing. And that's how it was very quick after I took my first fix. I got hooked pretty quick. And, I got hooked, and I was, I was a criminal young, I was doing little things. I was stealing. I was doing petty thefts. I learned how to write prescriptions. I learned how to go to doctors and steal their prescriptions. I learned how to go to the drugstores and write the prescriptions. I learned how to support a habit at a young age. And consequently, I got arrested a lot of times from the time I was 18 until I quit using. I have a bad, long, continued police record that I'll get into. Fred Brown helped me out considerably. So, back then when I needed help around, it's maybe 1974, they didn't have facilities like this. They had a place called Synanon. The methadone maintenance program just started coming out, and that was in Rosemead, California. My parents didn't know what to do with this uncorrigible kid, so they made phone calls to Synanon. They took me up to Rosemead to see if I should get on the methadone program and this and that. And they had a few programs. One was in Camarillo State Mental Hospital. It was called the Family Drug Program. It was attack therapy. It was based on the Synanon program, and it was really unreal, when I look at it. I mean, their form of recovery was all about I can do this. They'd scream at you and yell at you, and, thinking that this is going to make me stronger. They didn't know nothing about powerless over my drugs or alcohol. They didn't know nothing about came to believe a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. They didn't know nothing about turning my will and my life over the care of God. I didn't find that approach out till I went to Fred Brown's recovery house. Actually, before then. So anyway, I continued using, and I continued using, and I continued going to various treatment facilities. I continued going to jail. I continued making geographics. I used to have this great thought that if I placed myself in Salt Lake City, Utah, around a lot of Mormons and pure people and people I know, I got myself out of this element around here, I can stay clean, that this is the problem. But, it's very simple. You can't take a fucked up person like me with this disease and stick them in another location and expect anything different, I would, if I was in San Francisco, I'd fight Tenderloin. If I was in Salt Lake City, I'd find South Salt Lake down by the bus depot. If I was in Portland, Oregon, I'd find that bad area in Portland. Uh, and I made a lot of geographics to try to run from this problem that I had. And like I told you, I could tell you a lot of different ways things I tried that did not work. Okay. Finally, after using for quite a few years, when I was, let's see, I started using when I was 13. I say when I was 37, I got in a lot of trouble with the law. I had a few felonies. I was running from my probation. I ran for a couple of years. I picked up a lot of different court cases in the process. I had a lot of different IDs to, try to, you know, uh, be on the run properly. And finally got arrested. Okay. And and I was in the Longshoremen's Union, so I was in the Longshoremen's Union, and they sent me up to a treatment facility in Concord, California. And actually, that's where I met Stuart, in that treatment facility. It was in March 10th, 1988, my clean day, And in that treatment facility, I didn't know nothing about the steps. But I mean, I knew about AA. I used to go to meetings with my dad in Wilmington in the garage. When my mom would make him go to a meeting, he'd bring me along. And then I used to see some people pick him up and take him to a meeting. You know, uh, when I was in Wayside, I remembered the panel coming in there and talking about Narcotics Anonymous, and I remember telling the guy on the panel, he was a dope fiend. I mean, I listened to him, sized him up. He was a real dope fiend. And I said, it works for you, but I don't think it'll work for me. And it didn't work for me for quite a while. But I remember what he told me. He told me, well, if you ever decide to quit using, try to do three things. I go, what's that? He said, work the steps, get a sponsor, be a service. And it's amazing I remembered those three things after all those years. And later I found out that in recovery now, I've worked the steps, I got a sponsor, and I'm of service, you know? And like I was saying, I was up in Concord, California, where I met Stuart, and they would take us to meetings, they'd take us to AA one night, NA the next night. I got a sponsor up there. I worked the first step with him. I worked the second step with him. I worked the third step with him. And I was real willing at that point, I was real willing. I was very, very tired, I mean, it got to the point where the price I was paying just to get well was too overwhelming. And I was tired of getting arrested. I was tired of hurting my family. I was tired of not having anything. I was tired of being bankrupt. I was tired of not having no credit. And it got so bad. I had a loving mother. I used to knock on her door to come visit her. She'd open the door, call me in the house. She'd get her purse. She'd get the keys to her car. She'd put her purse in the trunk of the car. She'd come back, tell me to sit down, and say, "Now, what do you want?" You know. So, but that's where my addiction took me, and that's where it took my relationship with her. I was really hurting the woman. And she died 2013, and I remember, on her, in the hospital, maybe a month before she died, because she was dying. And I remember putting her hand on my hand and saying, "Danny, thanks for giving me my life back." And it's touching. I'm getting touched. But like I was saying, I after being up in that recovery house with Stuart all those time, we had to come make the transition of the program was over and coming back down here. And that's when I went to Fred Brown's recovery house and met Fred Brown. And like I say, I was up there. I had I had a probation violation that went back a lot of years. I was on the run a long time. I had a lot of court cases. I was on, I'd already got a state prison sentence suspended, had been to programs that I was supposed to do. And, I left all those programs. It didn't work. I used. And finally, I had to face that situation. And I remember going into Fred Brown's recovery house, and I wanted to be clean then. I made my mind up that I don't want to use anymore. Through going to the meetings, through get a knowledge of the steps through seeing people that I used to use with, uh, staying clean. I thought maybe I can get this too. And that's what we get, like where you're at right now. We get hope. Okay. And that's the key thing we need is hope. Because, I mean, I'm going back to where I was, I don't know how much time you guys have, but I know that your alcoholism and drug addiction caused you to be here, and why you're here. I mean, you probably start finding hope and thinking that maybe I don't have to live like that anymore. And you don't, you don't if you don't want to, you know. Uh, I mean, there's no magic pill around here. Number one, it's nice when you don't have any more reservations. You don't think that maybe I can go out and try it one more time and it'll be any different. Because I know for myself, I mean, I used to go out and use and wonder why the hell am I in this fucking position? Well, I'm sorry, so why am I in this position? And I've only been using for 2 weeks, And later I find out it's because when I came to this program, when we have amount of time and we get clean, when we pick it up, we start where we left off. And that's scary. I mean, that knowledge that I gained is a big motivator that I don't want to go out. I don't want to try it again. Plus, I can't run fast enough and I'm too old. Yeah. So, I mean, we all know what doesn't work. I mean, I know what doesn't work. And just like that guy told me that time that came down for the panel when I was in Wayside, told me do 3 things, get a sponsor, go to meetings, be a service, you know, and that's pretty basic and simple, you know, you know, work the first step. We admit that we're powerless over drugs or alcohol. My life's unmanageable. That's simple. Come to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity because what I was doing was totally insane, trying to kill myself, hurting people, and make a decision to turn my will and life over to the care of God. Okay. I mean, I have a conscience today. When I do something wrong, I feel it. And it keeps me from lying. It keeps me from cheating. It keeps me from taking advantage of somebody. Because I haven't forgot how to be a dope fiend. You know, I mean, I can still write a prescription. I mean, I know all the Latin writing. I mean, I don't forget. Uh, I still know how to manipulate to get what I want. You know, and I got to check myself, man. Well, this isn't right. What I might want to do. It doesn't sit right with me. This disease is powerful, man. It's still living inside of me, man. My thinking is sometimes a lot of addict thinking, but I don't act on it. I try not to act on it. And you know, and it's from being around here. It's from I mean, this is a great fellowship. I mean, I got some real solid people I met in here, man. Some really good friends. I mean, and all that stuff. Nice cars and nice homes and all this and that, and it's an inside job. It's how you feel inside. I mean, I guarantee you, if you put one foot in front of the other, those basic things will come to you. You know. I mean, get a job. Try to seek employment. Try to do the right thing. All that'll come back, man. I was totally bankrupt. I mean, I couldn't. When I was my first. When I was in Fred Brown's house, when I moved out, I couldn't turn no electricity on. I didn't have any credit. I ruined everything and I just, started a little bit at a time and built everything up and got my life back on track. So, yeah, I, Fred Brown, I mean, I have a lot of memories of him. I remember going to court, I remember going to court with him And like I say, I was willing to. He went to court with me a few times. He even went to court up in Ventura with me. I mean, I had cases up in Ventura. I remember Jackie and Fred went up there with me. He went to court with me in Torrance there. I hired a real good attorney. An attorney, a powerful attorney. It cost me quite a few dollars. My family helped me out with that. But I remember going in front of the judge, man. It was Judge Donahue, Judge Birch Donahue. And Fred Brown and that was for sentencing because he told me I had to go to Fred Brown's recovery house and he wants to see me in a year. Okay. So I remember going back to court with Fred. And I was I was going to accept the fact that he gets me 16 months or 3 years or whatever because that's what I deserve. But I would have stayed clean in the penitentiary if he sent me there. And I remember going in front of the judge, and the judge looks down at my case and he's reading and reading and reading. And I remember telling me, man, well, you got a record here long enough to choke a horse. That's what he said. And he said, I don't know why I'm hesitating, but what I'm supposed to do is send you to the state penitentiary. He goes, I'm going to give you a break and I'm going to let you continue living at Fred Brown's house. And I had to go see him in another 6 months. And then he thanked Fred Brown for what he's doing in the community and this and that. And I came back 6 months later. And I remember the judge, Fred was with me again. And I remember the judge saying, I get nothing but disappointing stories on people that come in front of me. And it's good to see somebody like you that's made some type of change and things are getting better for you. And he goes, I'm going to, allow you to stay there. And he told me that he's going to expunge my record. He's going to seal my history of my police record. And now when I go to apply for a job or I go do something, that's not against me. My record was expunged and sealed. And Fred helped me with that, And I did the Fred footwork and Fred helped me with that. So I'm just going to end it, I'm just going to end it. One thing that stands out to me, and it's a reading in Narcotics Anonymous, where it says there's no cure for this disease, but at some point it can be arrested and recovery is impossible. Okay. And that's always struck me when I hear that read, that they're telling me that there's no cure for my disease, which is true. My disease is terminal. Okay. But I know everybody out there probably is going to go to bed tonight and not you. So your disease is rested. Okay. Your disease is rested. And that's the gift of this program that, the obsession to use gets lifted. And from that point on, we have a chance, So if you're in here, go to a lot of meetings, get a sponsor, pick up chairs and stuff, be a service, and get a sponsor and try to work the steps, And they say around here, don't use no matter what. I mean, it seems kind of, but that really at times don't use no matter what. Don't pick it up. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's